Operation Midnight Hammer, a new reality in the Middle East. On June 22, 2025, the world awoke to a fundamentally altered Middle East. The United States announced it had conducted a series of targeted military strikes inside Iran. This operation, codenamed Operation Midnight Hammer, marked a dramatic escalation. The action was swift, precise, and carried immense geopolitical weight. The primary targets, according to U.S. officials, included the Fordo fuel enrichment plant, parts of the Natanz nuclear facility, and other critical infrastructure tied to weapons-grade production. The stated goal was not regime change, but a direct and forceful degradation of the nuclear program itself. The strikes represented a decisive pivot from economic sanctions and diplomatic pressure to direct military intervention. The White House stated the action was a necessary last resort. They argued intelligence showed Iran was nearing a point of no return in its nuclear development. The operation was designed to be limited, targeting specific equipment and infrastructure. U.S. military statements emphasized that great care was taken to avoid civilian casualties. In Tehran, the response was one of immediate condemnation. Iranian leaders called the strikes an act of state terrorism and a flagrant violation of international law. The event instantly sent shockwaves across the globe. For years, the international community navigated Iran's nuclear issue through a balance of diplomacy and deterrence. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, though frayed, had represented that framework. These strikes effectively shattered that framework. The central question wasn't just about the immediate damage to centrifuges and facilities. It was about the long-term consequences. Did this military action genuinely neutralize the threat, or did it merely sow the seeds for a program that was more determined, more secretive, more dangerous? The world now finds itself in uncharted territory. The immediate aftermath is a complex tapestry of claims and counterclaims, of intelligence assessments and political posturing. The United States and its allies framed the operation as a successful setback to a rogue program. Iran, on the other hand, projected resilience, vowing to rebuild and retaliate. The path forward is fraught with uncertainty, with risks of miscalculation and escalation higher than in decades. In the hours and days following Operation Midnight Hammer, the focus shifted to a critical and difficult task: assessing the actual physical damage. The United States government was quick to release its initial evaluation. Officials claimed the strikes were highly successful. They reported that advanced precision-guided munitions, including missiles and sophisticated drones, had hit their intended targets with remarkable accuracy. The aim, they reiterated, was to destroy key pieces of equipment essential for uranium enrichment. This included advanced centrifuges, their support systems, and the infrastructure needed to operate them. The targeted sites were not simple surface buildings. Many were heavily fortified or buried deep underground. The Fordo facility, for instance, is situated inside a mountain, making it a particularly challenging target. U.S. military briefers explained that specialized munitions, often called bunker busters, were used to penetrate these hardened defenses. Initial reports from U.S. intelligence sources, citing satellite imagery and other surveillance methods, pointed to direct hits on key operational halls within Fordo and Natanz, disrupting the core of Iran's enrichment activities. Iran, for its part, presented a different narrative. State media downplayed effectiveness, releasing footage that appeared largely intact, though its authenticity and scope were questioned. Officials in Tehran described the damage as limited and superficial. Leaders insisted experts would quickly repair any damage and proceed with even greater resolve. This public stance was crucial for domestic consumption, projecting strength and resilience. The initial reports from both sides were, predictably, shaped by their strategic objectives. The truth likely lay somewhere in between. Objective, third-party verification was desperately needed. The International Atomic Energy Agency. Inspectors were on the ground in Iran and would soon become central figures in this unfolding drama. Their task, separate fact from narrative. Beyond the immediate physical destruction, the crucial question became one of time. How long would it take Iran to recover? Optimistic assessments estimated a setback of about 1 to 2 years. Graphic U.S. official assessment, 1-2 years, versus skeptical analysis, 6-9 months. Estimates hinge on destroyed centrifuges and spares, effective export controls, and logistical bottlenecks. If recovery is months, the operation risks being a strategic failure for a fleeting advantage. Into this environment of uncertainty stepped the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. As the world's nuclear watchdog, inspectors in Iran could offer a more objective assessment. In a much-anticipated report released on September 26, 2025, the IAEA confirmed significant damage had occurred. Surveillance cameras at Fordow had been destroyed. Other monitoring equipment was rendered inoperable. Inspectors, eventually granted limited access, confirmed physical destruction of centrifuge cascades and related infrastructure. But the IAEA's findings were not a complete picture. The report was a snapshot of a known location, not a comprehensive audit of Iran's entire program. It could not know what materials or equipment might have been moved before the strikes, nor could it verify any undeclared facilities. Iran's reaction was swift, suspending cooperation under the additional protocol. This key instrument grants broad authority for snap inspections at declared and undeclared sites. By suspending it, Iran curtailed the agency's ability to look for signs of covert activity. It effectively blinded the international community at a critical moment. That left the IAEA and global powers to rely more on satellite imagery and other remote intelligence, which are far less effective than on-the-ground inspections. Conflicting assessments continue to surface, even as U.S. officials stood by a 1 to 2 year setback. Analysts warned U.S. estimates might underestimate Iran's domestic supply chain resilience. They cautioned against mirror imaging, assuming an adversary's capabilities mirror one's own. Iran's program is built for resilience and redundancy. With inspectors unable to sample or install monitors, the world lost its ground truth. Verification became educated guesswork rather than empirical confirmation. Each side clung to preferred narratives: success, resilience, or hidden acceleration. The absence of facts fueled mistrust, complicating diplomacy. Without reliable verification, the international community is flying blind. Is Iran secretly rebuilding or diverting material to covert enrichment? In this tense environment, a single alarming report could trigger another preemptive strike, and a wider conflict. In the wake of the strikes, the world held its breath, waiting for Iran's response. Tehran faced a complex calculus with a narrow range of viable options. Iran possesses ballistic missiles and drones capable of striking U.S. bases and allies. But direct attacks risk a full-scale war Iran could not win conventionally. More likely, asymmetric retaliation via proxies, attacks on U.S. interests, shipping in the Persian Gulf, or key economic targets. Iran could mount cyber attacks against financial systems, power grids, or government networks. On the nuclear front, withdraw from the NPT and openly pursue a weapon, crossing a global red line. Such a move would invite crushing sanctions and near-inevitable military action. Ultimately, Iran's options for an immediate, powerful response were limited. Regime survival comes first. Experts predicted a blend: ramped-up proxy attacks, heightened rhetoric, further withdrawal from nuclear transparency, and quiet acceleration of sensitive work in secret. The response would be a marathon, not a sprint. Operation Midnight Hammer sent tremors beyond Iran's borders. The UN warned the attacks marked a perilous turn for the region. Global oil markets are exquisitely sensitive to Gulf instability. Threats to tankers or facilities sent prices surging, with worldwide economic pain. The most dangerous long-term consequence: renewed nuclear proliferation. Some may conclude a nuclear weapon is the only ultimate guarantee against intervention. Strikes could encourage others to move faster and more secretly. This risks weakening the non-proliferation regime and eroding long-held norms. Experts concluded the strikes were a temporary setback for Iran, but potentially a permanent setback for global non-proliferation. The world may have traded a short-term gain for a more dangerous, uncertain future. Operation Midnight Hammer reset the chessboard. What happens next hinges on verification, restraint, and whether diplomacy can catch up to events. Damage, verification gaps, proliferation risks. The Middle East has changed, and the full implications are only beginning to unfold.